Hello, my name is David Dow. I'm a high school math teacher, and this is my sample lesson. And the way that we have our math classes, we're in the integrated curriculum, so we have Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, as opposed to like algebra, geometry, and algebra 2 trig. But this lesson is meant for typical sophomores, though there are juniors and sometimes freshmen in the class. And so this is the second unit. And it's the second lesson of that unit. And this particular lesson is about the vertex form of a quadratic. And so basically what students are learning how to do is identify just some important key features of a quadratic, like the vertex, y-intercept, graph it by hand, graph it using technology, whether there's a min or a max, talk about domain range. And this stuff's done both with and without a calculator. And so this is the second lesson of the unit, and it's like a part of a set of three where we talk about like standard form, vertex form, and factored form. So this is the vertex form part of it. So first thing I just want to talk about is the instructional video. This one I have two, and they're shorter videos. I'm not going to play the video for you, but I'll pull it up in a second. But I first want to show you the guided notes. And so if we go down to lesson 2, we got it right here. And what I basically do is initially talk just about some general things about vertex form. And then there are two examples that I give the students. And the reason why I split up my video into two was in the first video, I go over this part up here, just going over some basics with it. And then I cover the first 4 key features in the first video. So like in example 1, I cover vertex, axis symmetry, min, max, direction of opening. And then I do those same 4 things here in this, for example 2. Once I do that, the second video, I go over domain range, y-intercept, domain range, y-intercept. So it's just a way to split it up. I found that if I included it all in one video, it was a little too long. So that way I split it up so that also it makes it easier for students. Let's say they just want to review how to do domain and range. They can just go right to the second video rather than sitting through everything. So that's the layout of the guided notes. And the guided notes are that exact thing when you go to Edpuzzle. So here is, actually, let me pull up the first video. Okay. And so it's those exact guided notes. They're just on slides, and just so visually it's a little bit cleaner. So I go over a little bit of vertex form, and again I talk about those 4 key features for example 1, and then I do it also for example 2, and I got a few embedded questions in there, and then with the second video, same deal. I just talk about domain range and y-intercept. But that is kind of the layout of the notes, and both video and the guided notes. Next, I've got the practice. And most of the practice I do, I would say, tends to be like a printed worksheet. Depending on the problems, I might just leave it as a PDF if I want to save some paper. Sometimes I will, I don't know why Q got wrote in there. Sometimes I want to maybe have students use like a website like Delta Math or Khan Academy. But this particular one is a printed worksheet. So you can see here just a variety of questions for the students to answer. And then I include a answer key as well. I don't do solutions. I like to do answer keys because then if the student doesn't get it, they got to retry it rather than seeing the solution right away. So that is what my practice looks like. What I'll also note, or actually I'll talk about this in a second. So hold that thought. Next, we got the mastery check. And with my mastery checks, I like to ask myself, what is the least amount of work I need to see for students to show me they understand something? Like if it only needs 2 problems for me to see if a student gets it, I don't give them 10 problems, right? I think that's a waste of time. So here's a mastery check. I do a half sheet of paper just to save paper and then make it easier for me to look at. So here's like the first example, and this is the same thing, just repeated. And then on the back, a contextual problem, and then a couple reflection questions. And then at the end of the doc, I have the second version as well. And then if a student needs more than 2, I will, that's usually something I come up with on the fly. I can come up with stuff pretty easily, or I can go to a book or a website. But I found that most students tend to get it by the second one, and if they don't, I'll just make up something for them. So that is the mastery check. And the last thing that I just wanted to show is my HyperDoc, and this is how I organize all of my information. And I like it because it's all in one place. I used to post everything on Classroom, and then I found that when I did that, students were overwhelmed by the amount of things listed under a topic. But now everything is just in one document, all links, everything's there. So here's the calendar. My suggestion for when students get stuff completed. This links up to later in the doc, so you can go right to lesson 3. And then I have when the quizzes and tests are. So if we were to just jump to lesson 2, go here. And this particular HyperDoc isn't related to the one I just showed, but all my HyperDocs look the same. This one was just a cleaner version. So I've got objectives. Here's a link to the guided notes. Here's the link to the Edpuzzle videos, practice, answer key. And then I'll also post extra practice as well. I found that sometimes students like to get a little more practice, or I think they need it. So a lot of times it's like Khan Academy resources, or I create Delta Math resources as well. So, but this HyperDoc has everything. Last page is the anything review-wise, like so final, like a overall unit review or other stuff like that. So that's my HyperDoc, and I really love having a HyperDoc. It's all in one place. It's nice and easy, and I don't have to worry about anything else. So that is how a typical lesson looks for me.